For years, the promise of passive income and entrepreneurial freedom through Amazon has captivated millions. From bedroom side hustles to full-scale operations, the e-commerce giant transformed countless lives. But as we approach 2026, the landscape has undeniably shifted. The question on aspiring sellers' minds isn't if Amazon is big, but can a new entrepreneur still realistically carve out a profitable niche? This investigation probes the current reality, dissecting the claims against the hard data to reveal whether the Amazon dream remains attainable. The sheer scale of Amazon is staggering. A 2024 analysis by eMarketer projected Amazon's retail e-commerce sales to reach over $600 billion by 2026 in the US alone. Yet, this growth fuels a parallel rise in competition. Industry reports suggest that over half of all Amazon sellers launched their businesses within the last 2 years. This influx creates a highly contested marketplace, raising the barrier to entry for newcomers. The question then becomes, where does a beginner even begin to compete within such a crowded ecosystem? When people ask if you can make money on Amazon, the answer is rarely simple. It depends entirely on how you plan to engage with the platform. Amazon isn't a single business model, it's an ecosystem with multiple revenue streams, each with its own intricacies, risks, and potential rewards. We'll examine the primary avenues: fulfillment by Amazon, private label, wholesale, retail arbitrage, Amazon Associates, Kindle Direct Publishing, and merch on demand. Our goal is to dissect each to understand their true viability for a beginner in 2026. Fulfillment by Amazon, or FBA, is often seen as the backbone of selling on the platform. It allows sellers to store products in Amazon's fulfillment centers, benefiting from their shipping, customer service, and returns infrastructure. For many, FBA is synonymous with scalability. However, this convenience comes at a significant cost. Industry experts estimate FBA fees have risen by an average of 15% over the past 3 years, with further increases projected for 2026. This means higher overheads for every unit sold. A critical component of FBA's financial model is its complex fee structure. Sellers face not just fulfillment fees, but also storage fees, which fluctuate based on product size, weight, and the time of year. Long-term storage fees can quickly erode profits for slow-moving inventory. According to Amazon's own fee schedule, standard-size product storage can range from 87 cents per cubic foot per month, rising significantly during peak seasons. These variable costs demand sophisticated inventory management to remain profitable. Private label selling, where entrepreneurs create their own brand and products, has long been championed as the ultimate Amazon strategy. The allure is high margins and brand control. However, the startup costs are substantial. Industry estimates from firms like Jungle Scout suggest initial capital for a private label launch in 2026 typically falls between $10,000 and $25,000, covering product sourcing, manufacturing, branding, and initial inventory. This figure has risen considerably due to increased advertising costs and supply chain complexities. The private label space is fiercely competitive. With millions of sellers vying for attention, driving traffic to new products requires significant investment in Amazon PPC, pay-per-click, advertising. A 2025 study by AdBadger indicated average cost per click, CPC, rates on Amazon have increased by 20 to 30% year over year in high-demand categories. For a new product to gain visibility, a substantial marketing budget, often 15 to 20% of sales in the initial phase, is critical. This eats directly into potential profit margins, especially for products without strong differentiation. Wholesale selling involves buying established brands in bulk at a discount and reselling them on Amazon. This model often has lower marketing costs than private label, as the brands already have recognition. However, the challenge lies in securing profitable wholesale accounts and navigating price competition. Data from FeedbackWiz in late 2025 showed that over 70% of top-selling wholesale products on Amazon have at least 5 other sellers competing on the same listing. This drives down profit margins, often to single digits, demanding high sales volume for meaningful income. Startup costs for wholesale can be more modest than private label, typically ranging from $2,500 to $10,000 for initial inventory. However, sourcing requires significant time and networking to find legitimate suppliers and obtain approval to sell their products. A major risk is inventory obsolescence. If a product's popularity wanes or Amazon restricts selling certain brands, sellers can be left with unsellable stock. Furthermore, Amazon's stricter policies on brand gating and intellectual property rights have increased the complexity for wholesale sellers since 2024. Retail arbitrage involves finding discounted products in retail stores and reselling them on Amazon for a profit. This model boasts the lowest startup costs, often less than $500, making it attractive to beginners. The challenge, however, has intensified dramatically. Supply chain disruptions and retailers' own online strategies mean fewer truly undervalued deals are available. Additionally, Amazon's stringent product condition requirements and restrictions on certain brands, particularly in categories like health and beauty, pose significant hurdles for arbitrageurs in 2026. While accessible, retail arbitrage is highly time-intensive. It requires constant scouting, price checking, and product prep. The profit margins per item are typically razor-thin, often 10 to 20% after Amazon fees and shipping. According to a 2025 seller survey by Seller Central, over 80% of successful arbitrageurs dedicate more than 20 hours per week to sourcing alone. This makes it challenging to scale beyond a side hustle, with many struggling to generate more than $500 to $1,000 in net profit per month without substantial time investment. Amazon Associates, the affiliate marketing program, offers a different path. Instead of selling products directly, individuals earn commissions by referring customers to Amazon. The startup cost is virtually zero, requiring only a website or social media presence. However, Amazon has significantly adjusted its commission rates. A 2020 revision saw rates drop from as high as 10% to as low as 1% for certain categories. While there have been minor fluctuations since, the general trend indicates lower average commission rates for publishers, pushing them to generate much higher traffic volumes. Success in Amazon Associates hinges on driving massive, targeted traffic and achieving high conversion rates. Content creators must continually produce high-quality reviews, guides, or recommendations that genuinely influence purchasing decisions. Data from Ahrefs in 2025 indicates that only the top 5% of affiliate marketers achieve a conversion rate above 3%. This means for every 100 visitors, perhaps only 3 will make a purchase, and only a fraction of those purchases will be in high-commission categories. The competition for organic search rankings and audience attention is intense. Kindle Direct Publishing allows independent authors to publish ebooks and print-on-demand paperbacks on Amazon. The appeal is immense: creative control and global distribution with no upfront inventory costs. However, the market for self-published books has become incredibly saturated. A 2025 report from Bowker found that over 2 million self-published titles were released globally in the prior year. Standing out requires not just a compelling book, but also professional editing, cover design, and a robust marketing strategy, all of which demand investment. KDP offers attractive royalty rates, up to 70% for ebooks priced between $2.99 and $9.99. However, this is offset by the enormous challenge of discoverability. Without significant marketing, most books sink without a trace. Authors often spend hundreds, if not thousands, on ads, cover artists, and editors. According to data from Calytics, only about 1% of KDP titles generate more than $100 per month in royalties after the initial launch phase. For many, KDP is a passion project, not a primary income source, unless they commit to a prolific release schedule and a strong author brand. Amazon Merch on Demand allows creators to upload designs for t-shirts, hoodies, phone cases, and more, which Amazon then prints and ships when an order is placed. Like KDP, it requires no inventory. The primary investment is time in design and understanding market trends. The startup cost is effectively zero for the platform itself. However, the challenge lies in intellectual property. Amazon has become increasingly strict on copyright and trademark infringement since 2024, leading to frequent account suspensions for unwitting designers. The merch-on-demand marketplace is incredibly saturated. Thousands of new designs are uploaded daily. Profit margins per item are low, typically $3 to $7 per t-shirt, requiring high sales volume to generate substantial income. According to a 2025 Merch by Amazon community survey, less than 5% of active accounts earn over $500 per month consistently. Success often comes from identifying hyper-specific, underserved niches and staying ahead of fleeting trends. The risk of having designs copied by competitors is also a constant threat, further eroding potential earnings. Let's compare the initial financial outlay required for each model. Retail arbitrage stands out as the most accessible, potentially starting with under $500. Merch on Demand and Amazon Associates also boast near zero direct monetary startup costs, primarily demanding time investment. KDP falls similarly into this category, focusing on creative output over capital. In stark contrast, wholesale typically demands $2,500 to $10,000 for initial inventory. Private label, the model with the highest perceived profit ceiling, also commands the highest entry barrier, often requiring $10,000 to $25,000 to launch effectively in 2026. When evaluating profit potential, a stark contrast emerges. Private label, while demanding significant upfront investment, offers the highest potential for scalable, high-margin revenue, with some brands achieving 25 to 40% net margins once established. Wholesale follows, typically yielding 10 to 20% margins, but requiring substantial volume. Retail arbitrage and merch on demand usually operate on thinner 5 to 15% margins, capped by individual effort and market trends. Amazon Associates and KDP are highly variable, with potential for significant income but reliant on massive audience reach or viral success, often averaging 1 to 5% of gross referrals/sales. Central to all Amazon selling strategies is the opaque and ever-evolving Amazon algorithm. This system determines product visibility, search rankings, and ultimately, sales. Updates are frequent, and a change that benefits one seller can devastate another. For example, a 2025 algorithm adjustment favoring brand authority significantly impacted generic private label products, according to a report by Seller Metrics. This unpredictability means sellers must constantly adapt, invest in analytics, and avoid reliance on single strategies, adding another layer of risk to the already complex environment. Beyond the algorithm, Amazon's terms of service and policies are subject to constant revision. These changes can directly impact seller profitability and operations. Recent examples include stricter enforcement against review manipulation, increased scrutiny of product safety, and updated rules for advertising claims. A 2025 survey by the Amazon Sellers Conference found that 60% of sellers cited Amazon policy changes as their biggest concern, even outweighing competition. Navigating these shifts requires diligent monitoring and proactive compliance, diverting resources from growth. Selling on Amazon is not immune to broader economic forces. Inflation, fluctuating shipping costs, and supply chain vulnerabilities directly affect profitability. A 2025 report from the World Bank highlighted persistent global inflation impacting raw material costs, which directly elevates manufacturing prices for private label sellers. Similarly, international shipping rates, while having stabilized somewhat post-pandemic, remain higher than pre-2020 levels, adding to the expense for FBA and wholesale models. These macroeconomic factors introduce an external volatility that sellers must account for. Artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming e-commerce. For Amazon sellers, AI presents both opportunities and threats. On one hand, AI-powered tools can optimize listings, analyze market trends, and manage advertising campaigns more efficiently. A 2026 forecast by Accenture projects that AI will boost seller productivity by 25% in certain categories. On the other hand, Amazon itself leverages AI to automate customer service, detect fraudulent listings, and even develop its own private label products, increasing competition for third-party sellers. Staying competitive means embracing AI for efficiency, but also understanding its competitive implications. Perhaps the most pervasive risk for any Amazon seller is account suspension. This can happen for a multitude of reasons: intellectual property infringement, poor performance metrics, review manipulation, or simply failing to meet Amazon's ever-changing standards. A 2025 survey by Seller Labs indicated that 1 in 5 Amazon sellers had experienced an account suspension or severe listing restriction. The appeals process is often lengthy and opaque, potentially halting an entire business for weeks or months, leading to significant financial losses and uncertainty. To mitigate the risk of suspension and other operational challenges, successful sellers in 2026 employ several strategies. Diversification is key. Avoid putting all eggs in one basket, whether it's product lines, sourcing methods, or even sales channels outside Amazon. Strict adherence to Amazon's terms of service, meticulous inventory management to avoid stockouts or long-term storage fees, and robust customer service are paramount. Experts at Seller Pulse recommend automating monitoring for IP infringement and performance metrics to catch issues early. A crucial distinction for profitability on Amazon in 2026 lies between selling a commodity and building a brand. Commodities are undifferentiated products, easily interchangeable, leading to intense price competition and slim margins. This is often the fate of many retail arbitrage and basic wholesale items. Brands, however, cultivate customer loyalty, justify premium pricing, and are less susceptible to direct price wars. Private label aims for this, but even merchant KDP designs benefit from strong branding and author recognition. The long-term viability favors those who can build a true brand. For those seeking sustained income, many successful Amazon entrepreneurs emphasize the importance of building assets off Amazon. This means developing an independent e-commerce website, building an email list, or cultivating a strong social media following. A 2025 study by Shopify reported that sellers with an omni-channel strategy experienced 190% higher customer retention rates than those solely on marketplaces. Relying solely on Amazon creates a single point of failure and limits control over customer relationships. Diversifying outside the platform offers a hedge against Amazon's policy changes or account issues. So, returning to our core question, can you really make money on Amazon in 2026? The short answer, according to the data and expert consensus, is yes, but with significantly increased caveats and effort compared to previous years. The era of easy, quick profits is largely over. What remains is an opportunity for those willing to treat Amazon as a serious, complex business venture, not a get-rich-quick scheme. Success is increasingly defined by strategic planning, substantial investment, whether of capital or time, and continuous adaptation. The profile of a successful Amazon seller in 2026 has evolved. It's less about simply finding a product and listing it, and more about sophisticated market analysis, robust supply chain management, effective brand building, and advanced digital marketing skills. An interview with veteran Amazon consultant, Sarah Jenkins, highlighted this shift. Today's winners are data scientists, marketers, and logisticians all rolled into one. The casual seller will struggle. This indicates a higher bar for entry, requiring a broader skill set than ever before. For every success story, there are countless others who fail or barely break even. The narrative of effortless income often overshadows the immense amount of work involved. From endless product research and supplier negotiations to managing customer service and navigating complex advertising platforms, the grind is real. A survey of new sellers by Profit Guru in 2025 found that 75% of those who quit within their first year cited the overwhelming workload and slower than expected returns as primary reasons. This underscores that making money requires persistence and resilience. For beginners with limited capital, retail arbitrage and merch on demand still offer entry points, but they are increasingly demanding. Arbitrage requires relentless sourcing and a sharp eye for profit, while merch needs creative flair and niche discovery. Amazon Associates and KDP remain viable for content creators and authors, though income is rarely immediate or substantial without a pre-existing audience or aggressive marketing. None of these are set it and forget it models. They require constant engagement and adaptation to competitive pressures. Ultimately, the decision to pursue selling on Amazon in 2026 hinges on a realistic assessment of resources, risk tolerance, and long-term goals. For those with substantial capital and a strategic business plan, private label or scalable wholesale can still yield significant returns. For those with less capital, the path is longer and requires more ingenuity and consistency. The platform remains a colossus, offering unparalleled access to customers, but that access now comes with a higher price, stricter rules, and fiercer competition than ever before. Despite the increased complexities, the entrepreneurial spirit endures. For some, the challenge itself is part of the appeal. Building a business, adapting to market shifts, and finding innovative ways to connect with customers remains a powerful motivator. Amazon, for all its challenges, still provides the infrastructure and audience for millions of entrepreneurs globally. The dream may be harder to achieve, but it's not entirely extinguished. It simply demands more sophistication, more resilience, and a deeper understanding of the evolving e-commerce landscape.